What's not out of control? Oklahoma softball. The Queens stay the queen. They are back on top. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners are coming off of a sensational sweep of the Texas Longhorns at Love's Field in Norman, Oklahoma. Got that 3-0 win against, they went 3-0 against the Longhorns last weekend. Now back to number one in the top 25 with Softball America, the coaches poll. Basically, anywhere you want to do some rankings, Oklahoma's back to number one. They're number one in the SEC standings, ahead of a big showdown this weekend in Gainesville against the Florida Gators.
Yeah, shout out to the ladies. They went out there and cooked. And, I mean, I know that the last game was a little unfortunate. You take the lead 8-0. You think you're in run rule territory, and we're basically pointing down there saying, this is run rule territory. It is about over. And then Texas comes all the way back and ties the game. Pump the brakes on the freak out. And looking at it, you could see that the queen herself, Patty, was playing around with, pitchers, getting some young players, some experience, because when you're blowing out a team, it's probably the best opportunity to do it. Now, granted, unfortunately, it didn't work out the way we would have liked, but in the end, the Sooners did win. And they took back their rightful place at the top of the line. Number one in the country for softball. So they're going to host. They're going to do everything you need. And I expect when we get to Oklahoma City for the World Series, it's going to be a good time again.
Yeah, anybody that thought that Oklahoma was about to drop off, and there were a lot of people that did, and it's understandable why. Like, you lose all the talent that they lost after the 2024 season, and it's understandable why people would project Oklahoma to not be a top one team, a top five team during the 2025 season. They had a lot that they had to replace, and there are still some questions, obviously, with the pitching. You're getting good pitching performances at times. Like Kirsten Deal against Texas on Saturday was phenomenal. She'd only allowed one hit through the first 6 innings of the game. And then, Texas got to her a little bit in the 7th, but by that time the damage was already done. Oklahoma was up 7-2, but she was phenomenal in the first 6 innings of the game. But then she was able to close it out. Yes, she gave up the 2-run home run in the 7th, but then she locked it down and finished the game out. Sam Landry, she was really, really good at times on Friday night. And then coming in on Sunday, late in that game, she gives up a home run in that one, but then she locks it down and she's able to close things out for Oklahoma to get the win. So, it's been up and down, and I get why people might want to question Patty Gasso and what she did there on Sunday when you had the 8-0 lead, and Isabella Smith she's perfect through 3 innings and then gives up the leadoff single. My only criticism is, hey, let her work around that. Let her battle some of that adversity. And then if you want to go to Audrey Lowry, Peyton Monticelli after that, then by all means do your thing. And I get, she wants to get them some battle tested innings before the postseason, because after Florida, what do you got next? You got the SEC tournament. And then after that, it's NCAA tournament time. And there's no forgiveness in any of that. So you got to figure out who you've got that you can rely on in big innings, because you can't throw Sam Landry every inning, and you're going to need somebody beyond, Kirsten Deal and Isabella Smith at times to be able to get you some quality innings. What's been really awesome to see over the last 6 games, Oklahoma's on a 6-game winning streak after sweeping Mississippi State, sweeping Texas. They're averaging 7 runs a game. Their previous loss is to Alabama. They only scored 1 run in each of those games when they lost that series. So they were not happy with their performance at the plate down in Tuscaloosa, and they responded. They rebounded. And that's so critical for a young team. Okay, you had a bad weekend, but how do you respond to it? And they've responded in a great way.
Yeah, they did the bounce back that you needed, and they got the W's, the Tennessee series, the Alabama series, with the 2 series they lost. That you're just like, man, you wish you would have just could have grinded those out and kept those closer. But it happens. It's softball. I know that we're spoiled as fans. Our Sooner Nation are very much spoiled as fans and used to having borderline undefeated seasons all the time. But they only lost 5 games this year so far. I mean, them and Oregon are the only 2 teams with only 5 L's in the loss column right now. I think we should probably pump the brakes and enjoy this 6-game winning streak and watch the Sooners continue to rise and prepare for Oklahoma City once again, because they will be there. No problem.
Well, you know how many games Oklahoma lost in 2024? 7.
7. See, look at that.
And how many of those came in the regular season? 5.
5 of them came in the regular season. Yep, they lost a couple of them in a series. So, is there any other arguments?
That's 1.
Is there any other arguments?
6. They lost 6 games in the 2024 season. So
yeah.
And then lost 1 in the NCAA tournament.
Totally get why everybody would be all upset and worried. But like you mentioned, Coach Gasso needs to figure out who she can trust going down the line. Because you gotta have multiple arms and you gotta be prepared sometimes to rotate folks in. Yep. Knock on wood, injuries do happen. So you need to see in the games that you're dominating, like that one against Texas, even though, yes, you probably just want to just stomp them in the mud hole as a rival. You just want to get it over with. You still got to figure out who you can trust going forward. And I actually appreciate the fact that she took a chance there. It did not work. But, hey, if it did work, no one would say anything. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, they would be like, oh, that was a great opportunity.
Genius.
Those innings. What's really encouraging also here, Jay, is this team is so young. It's so incredibly young. The players that are leading them are, redshirt freshmen, true sophomores. Cassidy Pickering, Ella Parker, they're number 1 and 2 in batting average. They're true sophomores. Gabby Garcia, she's a true freshman. Nelly McEnroe Marinas, she's a redshirt freshman. Those are your top 4 hitters, and they're going to be at Oklahoma for the next 2 to 3 more years, depending on which one you're talking about. You're only losing 3 seniors off of this team: Sydney Sanders, Sam Landry, Isabella Smith. Those were the only 3 seniors that were represented at senior day. So this team is really, really young. They've played really good softball. They've responded to adversity, and they're set up to be incredibly good for the next several years. But as you get ready for Florida, a team that had an opportunity to stay in the SEC regular season title hunt, but wasn't able to win a series against LSU, you go win a game, and Texas A&M and Tennessee, there's a 2-1 series loss either way, and you win the SEC regular season title. You go win 2 games against Florida, and you don't have to worry about what happens in Knoxville. You're going to win the SEC regular season title. And that's pretty awesome. And, to be in that position going into the final weekend, that's fantastic. And it's going to put Oklahoma in a position to get that number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. Yep. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Spring's over, y'all, it feels like.